Psychic medium Sarah Lemos joins Chaplain Jodi, that's me, on this special 5-part podcast series on Survivor Angels. We call it The Dance, celebrating the wisdom, strength, and beauty of aging. On this episode, we talk about the mental shift, cultivating wisdom and clarity.
It's time for Survivor Angels, an approach to strengthen trauma survivors. Here, you can escape what draws negativity and engage your positive abilities and the gifts that you've always had. Let's activate your angels. And to help you on that journey, here's Chaplain Jodi.
Okay, Sarah, are we crazy or not?
That's the question, right? Are we depressed today, or is it just anxiety? It's so much to choose from. It's this portion, thinking about the brain and thinking about aging, and having a lot of my friends are over the age of 60, and that's just how it is. I've been drawn to people of wisdom, grace, and knowledge, it's just how I've always been, and I've always respected that. And I think when it comes to aging and forgetfulness or depression or anxiety, a lot of this is being, again, I'm not a doctor, I don't play one on TV, but from my understanding is a lot of this is brought on by hormonal changes in your body that you don't have control over. And so yet we take it on and we aggress on ourselves for being less than, or, oh boy, that was stupid. And I've heard my friends say that. Oh, that was stupid. Why did I say that? Oh, I feel so stupid. Why can't I just, and it breaks my heart. And now that I'm going into it, and I do have those moments where I'm like, I'm in the kitchen. That's all I know. I know I came into the kitchen and I came in for something. Water. I'm trying to be kinder to myself. I am learning from my friends that, this is something that is something we're judged on, something that people notice. I don't know. How do you feel about Jodi? Like, just the idea that, honestly, we have no control over it. It's hormonal. It's affecting the brain. We have brain fog. Right. But, when I was trying to explain, like, on the table, and I'm trying to say on the table, and I can't think of the word table, and everybody starts to look at you sideways.
Well, I'm granted, I know our hormones do part of this, but I also blame the media and the medical community. Both, because they've put a stigma on, quote, old age or aging, however you want to look at it. Mm-hmm. And it's wrong, because a lot of their motivation is to sell fear. It's to sell a product. It's to sell a service. And in the meantime, because this little thing up here gloms on to everything that comes by, especially if it's, oh my gosh, is that going to happen to me? Is that happening to me right now? And then we sit there with that fear and that anxiety and that panic. I think that we need, especially with remembering things, I thought of this. Are you going to tell me that when you were a teenager, you didn't forget where you put your car keys and how many times?
It's true, right? Yeah.
So was that a junior moment?
Right. No, you're right. Or how many times I couldn't find my other shoe.
Right.
Or whatever.
Yeah. Or how many times you put on 2 different colored socks because you just grabbed out of your drawer and it's like, oh, well, they looked like they were the same, but one was black and one was blue.
Yeah.
We've been doing this all of our lives. We just I believe, haven't been as cognizant of it
Yeah.
until now, because people have made a stigma
Yeah.
out of moving into this chapter of our lives.
Yeah.
And we can control that. We have all the power and ability to control that mindset.
Yeah. You're right.
It's just like so many people think as you get older, they think it's disease, it's dementia, throw another D word in there. I'm sure there's another one.
Right. Right.
And so many times, like I said, in the last episode, only 3% of American seniors actually go to nursing homes. 3%, that's nothing. Nothing at all.
No.
And we can turn this around. We have all the capability to do that. And we need to start doing it, not only for ourselves, but for our daughters, who are watching us now, because they're not getting younger. I have to say, my daughter, oh my gosh, she can never find her car keys, but she never has been able to find her car keys.
Yeah.
And of course, now when she can't find them, and she's 43, she thinks, oh my gosh, and she's maybe in perimenopause, premenopause. And so she's starting, and the old brain is starting to work overtime with her.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And I think too is, when you Google any of these things, there's so many suggestions of things that you can purchase, buy, or see your doctor for. And by all means, go ahead. I mean, by all means, do the, but it is interesting. You're right. I never thought about that. That, I've never been able to remember people's names. It has nothing to do with my age. I've just never been able to remember people's names. But I think you're right. And why is it that we become harder on ourselves as we age? And I think you stated it. Media. There's certain actresses that just disappear. They just disappear because they don't want to be seen now that they've aged. There's only a few people that we see in movies that have always been our older people until they cross on. They've always been the older person in the show. Right. But I think too is, we don't have to just give up either. Like, having these, like you were saying, like when I stammer, I do this, and this, when I can't find the word, I'm going to start doing it too. I think that's great. But like, we don't have to give up, training the brain, playing games like Sudoku or matching games. Matching games are they're fun. And as long as you're stepping into these type of things with the idea that this is fun and it's good for the brain, not because you have something wrong with you, and so you need to hurry up and do these things. That is not what I am saying. And I really want to make sure no one hears that. These are just things that I have noticed that have been helpful for my friends. And walking is a big one for mental health. Getting outside, walking with a group, walking at the mall, doing things that get you out of the house, very healthy for the brain, very healthy for the to get out and get moving. But the different types of games that you can play. I mean, my grandmother, very smart woman till the day she died. And she was all about word puzzles.
Yes.
She got the newspaper, she pulled it out, she folded it a certain way, and that's what she did. That is, every time she got the newspaper. And she ended up writing for the newspaper and doing these for the newspaper. But, there's many different options out there for keeping your mind, active.
Right. My mom, bless her heart, still alive. She turned 96 just a couple of weeks ago.
Yay!
If she wouldn't have fallen and broken her hip and her wrist a couple of years ago, which they said she would never walk again.
Wow.
Are you kidding? No. She said, don't tell me that. And sure enough, within 6 months, she was walking. And within a year, no cane and no nothing, she goes. Now, granted, she goes slower because she's 96.
Right.
But she said, I'm not going to listen to that. You are not going to tell me that I am never going to walk again because I'm old and I broke my hip. And you had to put a whole bunch of, funky hardware in there and stuff.
Right.
But the other thing with her too, and the reason her mind is so sharp, is she has always had social connections.
Yeah.
Even as my dad passed, and then she, had a second marriage, very briefly, because of course he was in his 80s at that point then. But still, she has always made sure that they had date nights with friends, we're going to call it.
Yep.
And they would go to events with friends, not alone. And she is still doing that. She gets on the bus.
Yeah.
And she goes and comes back. And there is so much to that. You need to have that human contact for your mental health to be at optimum.
Right. Right. Because they do say over and over again in the literature, and again, I don't have the facts in front of me, but that anxiety and depression, when those hormonal shifts occur, plus if you're already upset because you're aging and your doctor's telling you can't walk because of there's many different reasons to experience depression and anxiety. And so one thing that I would always suggest to anyone who is experiencing depression and anxiety is you absolutely seek out medical attention. It's not something that so many of us have feel bad for taking that type of medication. There's such a stereotypic the attitude behind these type of medications. They are not always long-term. Some medications are very short-term. And I am not trying to sell you on meds. I'm just trying to say you don't have to do this alone. And there are doctors that can help you. And then, yes, there's absolutely things like we've, shared today, walks and being with friends and, things where you can get the cortisol out of your body, getting in motion, doing something. And I think that's, as we feel like we're losing things, just that thought of loss, because we subscribe to that thought of loss. And we're in that loss, more anxiety and depression are around every single corner. But know that you can get assistance and you can get help in it. And, there's multiple ways. To deal with depression and anxiety. But what I want you to know is you're not alone in it. We're talking normal. We're talking literally what they're saying is this is a normal side effect of aging, is not being able to sleep, low moods, or anxiety. Like this is something that everybody is going through. You are not alone in this. You are not alone in having these feelings.
Not at all. And just to go back a second to what you were saying about, getting to a professional therapist or whoever that might be, however that looks for you. If you're not comfortable with the first one you go to, find another one. Yeah. Don't worry about hurting their feelings. This is about your self-care. Yep. And you need to come first. And say that they put you on some meds and maybe you're getting some weird effects and they're going, oh, just stick with it a little bit longer. But you've got your angels telling you, I don't think that's right. And because you got to listen to your angels on this too. I listen to my angels all the time. There again, go and get a second opinion from somebody else. You don't have to settle. You are valuable, you are worthy, and you do it for you. So amen to that, Sarah, without a doubt. Yeah. And I think another thing that we forget about as we get, let me tag onto this before I forget this. When we talk about remembering things and not remembering things, neuroscientists have learned that as we age, and this has nothing to do with old age, it's just a life process, your brain starts to slough off information. Granted, it's continually growing new cells, always, 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 always. This is one part that never stops growing new cells, but you're constantly putting information in, and still, you got to make room. And so when you don't remember something, it's maybe because your brain said that wasn't worth anything, and so we're just going to let that go.
Right.
And that's all it is.
Yeah.
But then the other thing that I think we need to tell ourselves over and over, every day even, look at how much we've been through in our lives. Look at how much we have survived and overcome and accomplished. I mean, start looking at that, and it's like, oh, well, dang, I can keep going because look at what I've already done. And there's no reason anything's going to stop me now.
Yeah. No, I completely.
It goes back to attitude.
It does. It does. And, and again, I don't want to say that I, you might be going through something more physical, more emotional, and these things are hard. And I'm not saying that you can just wish yourself out of that. That's by no means. But there is I feel like a secret that no one shares is that you don't have to be in that muck. You just don't. And it's like, you're not going to earn anything. You're not going to earn anything by being in the depression. You're not going to get a certificate coming out of that, So doing something for self and saying, no, I'm going to see a professional, or I'm going to, just talk to my doctor about this, even though I'm uncomfortable, it's scary. And sometimes It's like, am I admitting that I'm getting older? Am I admitting, and it's like, no, what you're doing is sharing symptoms. You're sharing symptoms so that you can get what you need. And I think that's important. And again, I'm going to say this one last time. You are not alone. You are not alone in this. For some reason, when it comes to depression and anxiety, people act like it's very rare and that it only happens every once in a while. And that's not true. No. And I do believe that the way we think about these things is from where we've come from. And I respect that completely. But I'm just saying, Speak up. If you need supports and help, you need to speak up. And like Jodi said, if the first one doesn't work for you, guess what? The first one just didn't work. Find somebody who does. And trust your angels.
Yeah. Anxiety and depression is not a symptom of old age, because you look at even children who are being diagnosed with anxiety and depression, which I've got a little bit of an issue with that I think that's something else going on, but we're not going to talk about that right now. But I'm just saying, at any age, you can have anxiety. Absolutely. You can be depressed. Exactly. It's there. It's part of our psyche. Yeah. But what we need to look at is all through our lives, we have been able to change. We've been able to adapt. We've been able to solve and resolve. We've been able to problem shoot. We can still do those things. Right. Those things haven't left us, which that's where our empowerment comes from. If we do find ourselves anxious and depressed, it's like, I can get myself out of this, whether I need professional help, whether I just need support of friends and family, or whether I can do it by myself, because there's different levels of those things. But
I think, isn't it, you were saying earlier, Jodi, like, to be going through this, to be inside this body, to be inside this brain, okay? And then I'm trying to explain to my husband, I'm hormonal, I'm moody, I'm upset, I'm depressed. A lot of times, blessings and love to our partners and spouses and such, they want to know why. Because they want to, if they have the why, then they can gift you the answer and maybe you'll do better or feel better, right? So I totally respect it. But there's times where I don't know, Jodi, what's going on with me. I don't know why I'm feeling this sad right in this very moment. I do know that I'm in premenopause and it absolutely can do, be a hormonal swoosh or anything. But how do we start that conversation? How do we empower ourselves to look at our partner who sees us as sometimes perfect or on this high horse and I'm struggling. And like, what's the first step? Because sometimes, seriously, he'll find me in the kitchen going, why am I in the kitchen? Like, why am I in the kitchen? Yep. I'm in the kitchen. I know I need to be in. Yep. There's a reason I'm in the kitchen. And he's so what are you looking for, Sarah? I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? You're in the, what do you mean? So how do we go about this?
You and I are both second marriage.
Yeah.
As are our husbands. So when Jeff and I got married, I went into premenopause a year in.
Oh.
Woo-hoo, hello, you're going to get the whole wax.
Oh.
I felt so bad for him. But because he had been married before, he understood a lot of the relationship dynamics. He was no stranger to that.
Right.
And that's huge. And one thing that we both learned from our first marriages is you're better off to be proactive than reactive.
Oh, I totally
and I think that's where you start with this. You all of a sudden it's like, oh, I think maybe, and if it isn't now, it must be going to be starting soon.
Right.
That's with the hormonal changes and everything, which then we know there's things that go along with that. I think that's the point where we have a sit-down conversation with them and say, I don't have no idea how this is going to look, but there are going to be days where you think that I am bat woo-woo crazy.
Right.
And you are not going to know whether you should lock me in a closet or throw cold water on me.
Okay.
But let's talk this through of possibilities and options.
Okay.
Because I might need your help. And it might be something as simple as recognizing and just leaving me be.
Yeah.
For a while. It might be, I'm going to start bawling my eyes out, and I don't need you to ask why. I just need you to hold me.
Okay.
And then there's going to be those other times where I am going to be raving about absolutely nothing because I don't remember why I walked in the kitchen.
Right.
And I'm frustrated. And this is what you can do to help me.
I think this is really important because for some of us, we want to run from it. Like I said, like this isn't our reality. This isn't happening. Not yet, not now. And I think just stating that it's happening, just saying, it's empowering self versus feeling like power is being taken from you. So,
yep.
Taking that minute to sit with somebody you love and admire and care about and say, here it is. Here it is. I'm scared. I know I'm already showing you some signs of myself that are, I don't even know yet what to do with. But sharing that, I think, could be very empowering, especially for those of us who are kind of on the edge of, I want to run from this. I'm just going to pretend it's not happening. I'm just going to, it's like, or you can get proactive and do something about it. And I love that. And that's definitely something that I will be doing with Josh for sure.
Yeah, because the other piece of it is we have that fear of, they're going to leave me. When this gets to the extreme, they're going to go, I can't deal with this, and they're going to be gone. Where if you've had that conversation, you've taken that fear out of it because you have shown them part of the unknown. Yeah. Now, it's not all of it, but you've given them a glimpse at least.
Yeah.
I see this as the other piece as they're aging too. And guys have things happen to them that are similar and then things that are different. And when they realize that we've opened up to them, they're going to open up to us so we can help them, because that's going to be another piece that otherwise will get frustrating for us, is when they're going through something and they just shut down.
Yeah.
And for the same reasons.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you've opened that line of communication both directions.
Yeah.
And it will save a lot of anxiety and angst and everything else, heartache, maybe even.
Yeah. Absolutely.
By being proactive.
I love it. I know that it's, how do I put this? I know that many of us that are aging and are experiencing the mental delays and all these different things, that we have this, it equates something even bigger. So I'm not saying it's not a big deal, because it is a big deal.
It is.
It also gets us in this thinking of, oh no, I'm going to have Alzheimer's. Oh no, my great grandmother had Alzheimer's. This is a sign of Alzheimer's. I'm going to have. So self-diagnosing or Googling is not always the answer. So, I did want to kind of talk about this a little bit, because we start showing symptoms and signs, and so that must be this. And, we have to be careful with that. And it's very easy in our society, because every other commercial is a commercial for a pill that will help you not experience this, that, and the other. And almost every time they show those commercials, I'm like, oh, I have that. Oh, I have that. Oh, I'm experiencing that. And it's like, but, I'm not a doctor. We've already said that. I'm not a nurse, and I don't play one on TV. And so it's important to not self-diagnose or go down these rabbit holes. And I know for so many of my girlfriends who have stayed up late trying to figure out and going down the rabbit hole on the internet because they have this one symptom. And again, empower yourself, make a doctor's appointment, empower yourself. Stand there and say, this is what's going on with me, and I don't want to be here in this situation. It doesn't work for me. What can I do? Because you'll self-diagnose, and before you know it, you've bought every dietary supplement. You have now started this breathing technique. And I respect all of that. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but I'm also saying be careful that you don't self-diagnose. And I think that this happens a lot with us. Or we have a friend who means well, and they say, oh, last night I Googled your symptoms. And this is what's going on, and you might want to look. And it's like, so we can do that really easily. And we do that because of media. We do that because we saw a show that once had, or we have a family member who once had this. That doesn't mean that's you. And so I would say is empower yourself, seek medical seeks, a doctor, a nurse, somebody that can work with you to actually diagnose what is going on.
Yes. And as an add-on to that, we talk about our spouses and our partners and them with the unknown and the fear that comes with that. We've also, like, I think it was maybe in the last show I said, our daughters are watching us too.
Yes.
And so we need to, I don't want to say set the example, but we need to model self-care.
Yeah.
And the importance of it, and talk to them. Explain as you're going through, even on your worst days, pick up the phone and call them and say, I need to talk to you. And if you've had those proactive conversations, they're going to go, okay, Mom, go ahead, lay it on me.
Right.
And that will aid them when it's their turn.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was having a conversation when it comes to like the social pressures of getting older, because I feel like there are positive things about getting older. I do think that letting go of some of the stuff that we let go of is very positive. I can only say at 47 that now I don't care what people think. Like, I really don't. Like, you go through, like, I remember that's all I cared about, for many years, was, staying this or looking this way or da-da-da-da-da. And there's such a stigma around what we're supposed to look like or how we're supposed to be, when, again, that's an actress or an actor who has a script, who is showing up in full makeup. And, and that's who I want to be, or that's why am I not more like that? Or, so-and-so is 90 years old and she's in a swimming suit and I'm freaking 47 and can't fit into a floaty, whatever. But it's like, you see these things and so you see like the social aspect of it. And then you have that part of you that wants to be like them. and you realize you're not, and it's rough. It's rough.
That's our ego.
Yeah.
And I think that as we get, at least I've noticed it with me, like you just said too, you get to the point you don't care. You just don't care.
Oh.
But when that happens, we also become kinder
Yeah.
with others, gentler with ourselves. We are less judgmental, which is a huge thing. That's with others and with ourselves. And that's a beauty and wisdom that is another, do I want to say symptom, a byproduct, whatever, that comes out of all of this.
Yes.
That's the positive thing. Because once we arrive at that point internally,
Right.
we start glowing on the outside. We take on a whole different persona
I agree.
because we've let go of all those trappings that our ego puts us in.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, we are freer than we have ever been mentally.
Yeah. Yeah. And so can I ask Jodi, like, when it comes to ego and struggling with ego, because we do, because period, we do. But what angel would I call on? What angel could I ask help for when I am struggling with my little ego or my big ego? So either I'm not good enough, I'll never be, or, I'm in my ego.
Right. The first one, there's several of them. I would call on Haniel, because Haniel is about frustration and disappointment, which that comes from ego directly.
Yeah.
And then balance and harmony.
Okay.
So Haniel is great to start with.
Okay.
Because it's going to help get you back leveled out. And then once you get yourself to that place, then call on Zadkiel,
okay,
who is going to open you to new ideas. And that's what, this is like another awakening for us.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the two I would call on. Haniel first,
okay,
and then Zadkiel. And you'll know when to make the shift over to Zadkiel. And if you forget which angels I just said, just say, angels in light and love, you know who's got this, and this is what I need. Tell me how I need to accomplish this. And that's the other thing people need to remember with angels. And I know you teach this in your angel class too, is they're not going to do the work for you.
No.
You have to do the work yourself. Right. You can ask all day long, I want this, I need this. What they're going to give you is the guidance on how to get there. Right. But you're going to have to do the work.
Right.
And it's like anything else in life.
Right. Right. Mm-hmm. I love that. Yep. One thing you had said that you wanted me to do is maybe, offer up some sort of book or something to help with this piece of it, the depression, the anxiety. And there's a lot out there.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
One thing that I feel is that knowledge is power. Knowledge is power against depression and anxiety. Knowledge is power against, and when you have a true understanding of what is going on, or even a basic understanding of what's going on, you then can say, oh, this is what it is. So this is why I'm experiencing this. So the fear is now gone because I know why I'm doing the things I'm doing, right? And it's very normal because of every person does this. Surprise, we all go through it. Some hospitals, I was talking to a friend this morning, and some hospitals have classes on menopause and the effects on the body. Mm-hmm. So there are free resources in your community. And the reason I suggest this versus a book or a podcast, other than ours, of course, is that you go out, you get out of the house, you go to a class, you see that you are not alone. Because wherever you're listening to this, in the car or, in the front room right now, you're probably not with a lot of people going through what you're going through. Mm-hmm. And so getting out, going to a class, getting involved I think it's awesome. I think what's sad is that this is only a 1-hour class in our local hospital. Yet how many of us are literally starving for this information to understand this process a little bit better, so it's not so scary. Living in fear is not a place to live. So something like this, it could be very empowering. So check into your local hospitals. They have a lot of free classes. And one of those classes might be on, menopause and what you're going through.
Right. There's a reason for everybody who's watching and listening to this. There's a reason that Sarah and I decided on the title of The Dance. Our entire lives, we dance through them. Sometimes the dances are tougher, sometimes they're easier. But the dance continues. Yeah. And we dance with others. And there are those times where we do dance alone. At the end of this podcast, I'm going to drop in a song from this incredible musician. She helped to write it along with two of her guy friends. And it's called, I'm not going to get the title slightly wrong, but it's Don't Be Afraid to Dance Alone. And I think it's so appropriate because as we go through this, there's going to be times where even though we're maybe not alone, we're going to feel that way. And that's what this speaks to is don't be afraid to dance alone. So we will close out at the end with that. And then next time, hang on everybody, because we're going to talk about the emotional landscape. Whoa. So until next time, Sarah.
Yeah, this is, and I'm so grateful, Jodi, that we've come together and, like I said, bring some ideas, bring some what ifs, bring some, whomever's listening today to know they're not alone. But if they are, if they feel that way, that here's some things to try, to stretch, to shift, to change. Or to have the power of knowledge so they're not so afraid.
Right. And then they will grow. They will continue to grow. And they will see you can talk about this stuff, just like you and I are talking about this. Right. It's not hard. You just start talking. Yeah. So until next time, get your conversations going, and Sarah and I will keep going too.
That's right.
Who cares if life don't turn out like you planned it? You still feel the rhythm in your bones. And the truth is you don't need someone else to lead. Dare to dance alone. Your move, take that leap of faith. You see how easily your steps fall into place. At first it might seem kind of scary when you do, but just know that we're all out there dancing too. So maybe while you're spinning in the darkness, you'll stumble on a style that's all your own. And wouldn't it be sweet to sweep your own self off your feet? Dare to dance alone. You see how easily your steps fall into place. At first it might seem kind of scary when you phone. You still hear the music, don't you? Dare to dance alone. Dare to dance alone.
Thanks again for joining Chaplain Jodi on Survivor Angels. For more information, go to chaplainjodi.me. That's chaplainjodi.me. And on Facebook at Survivor Angels-Chaplain Jodi. Sound effects for the show created by Andre Opate and provided by Pixbay. This is Dave Schrader. Until next time, sending you off to activate your angels.